Okay, and we are live. Thank you, Sandra. Thank you, Louie, for joining us on the call today, and thanks everybody else for showing up. I know there's some people that couldn't be here today that really would have loved to be on the call. There's Sandra just phoned in, thank you. Being in the next room, which is obviously very weird. But we're really fortunate to have you guys do this and offer up your time tonight, because I know that your time is exceptionally valuable, the both of you at the moment. But obviously on the back end of such an incredible event and everyone getting so much out of it, there's always going to be questions that people go away and try and process. And, you know, there was a lot of stuff that came up that people wanted to find out from the perspective of a student and people that are implementing and actually getting results. So I really am truly grateful for you guys giving up your time tonight to answer some of those questions. And also, before I continue, a big, massive shout-out, congratulations to people that have joined us and come on board. There is a really awesome group of people. I'm super excited. We have started the Facebook group. And, yeah, just a really strong group of go-getter entrepreneurs. So I think with everyone spurring each other on and that real creative, supportive community of like-minded people, that's where half the battle is. And I know that I've spoken to you, Sandra, about this, is that, you know, your environment's 10 times stronger than willpower any day of the week. So to have a supportive group of people around you heading in the same direction that can support each other, it's just, I'm so excited for the results that people are going to have. So I'm just going to hand over to you guys now and let you intro yourselves. And thank you again for joining us on the call.
Awesome. So, you want to go for it, Louie, and tell us your story?
Yeah, I'll tell you my story. I've known Ted for about 7 years now. Originally, I lived in the U.S., and Ted's one of those guys that, you know, he's very soft-spoken, so I met him in some of these networking events, and I knew he did tax liens and tax deeds. I really didn't know what he did in terms of, I never saw a presentation, and you know, and I thought I kind of knew what tax liens was. It's kind of like if people say, if you've never been to a presentation, how to flip homes and stuff. I knew the general idea, but it wasn't, but I lived overseas, so a lot of the stuff you couldn't do overseas. Until last year, he came to Asia, where me and my wife live, and we saw his presentation at a big Tony Robbins event in front of thousands of people, and I was like, wow. So I've been on this journey for about a year now, using Ted's strategies and systems. And so that's it. And we probably have about 200 people in Asia who are doing his system right now. And my goal is to help bring him more to Asia, so I don't have to fly to the U.S. As much. It's about 30 hours from here to Florida, where he lives and where he does some of his events. So last year we did 2 events here in Asia. And so Australia is actually really close to me versus Florida. So I'm trying to get him more and more over here so we can learn more and advance more. So that's my story right there. So
fantastic. Thanks, Louie. And San, I know that you've been doing Ted's strategy for a while, and in fact you were studying originally with another company and jumped ship. So yeah, would you be able to give us a little bit of background of where you've come from in your journey with all of this?
Yeah, sure. I've tried everything under the sun that you guys can imagine, from internet marketing to trading on the stock to, you know, losing money on it and everything else. And I heard about tax liens and tax deeds a few years back at a Tony Robbins event, and it kind of stayed in the back of my head like, oh, that sounds really good, but I was really busy doing all these other things, chasing shiny objects, until I realized none of that works. And what happens, I went into a very silly investment about 3 years ago, and lost like nearly $300,000, so that hurt. And needless to say, I became very skeptical after that. I'm very cautious with what I did with my money. Plus, I'm a methodical, so I research things thoroughly before I jump onto them. And as it turns out, I had some real estate in Melbourne, and after I sold it, I had my money sitting in the bank, and I thought, what do I do? So I went to see a couple of financial planners, my banker, and all they offered to do was to do the same thing they do with our superannuation, which is pretty much nothing. So I thought that wasn't a good idea. I'd rather have my money just sitting on the bank, even if it's making hardly anything. And sorry, that's my little girl. So what happens is I came across this group in America that did tax liens and tax deeds, And I thought, oh yeah, that's perfect. That's what I want to do. And let me tell you that I got a pack of, I think it was like 8 CDs that were recorded about 7 years ago. So I got like a very good teaser of what it is, and for me to want more, but certainly not to be able to do it on my own. And then I came across Ted after that, about February last year, about a year ago in Melbourne. I actually knew Ted, but I didn't know this is what he did. So I'm like, oh my God, is this what you do? So that was really exciting. So I decided to jump on board with Ted. And I'm so glad I did. I just wish that I would have done it a few years earlier, you know. That I have to say that with Ted, I've had so much value. Like, you give him 1 cent and he gives you back 10 cents of value and knowledge. And, you know, once I logged into the resource center for the first time, I was like, wow, look at all this stuff. I didn't do much for the first couple of months, and I spent about 3 months just with my head down, studying as much as I could, watching all the videos in his resource center, which is a lot of it. I got myself a little book that I use just for that. So that's where I take all my notes, and that's where I have my pages with all the resources, which is the main website where I do my research, all highlighted in yellow or orange, as you can see. So what I used to do is I would spend a whole week just watching videos, as many as I could. I would watch them while I'm driving, or at least listen to them, not watch them while I'm driving. While I'm at the gym, riding my bike, while I'm cooking, you know, we put the computer with the speakers while I'm cooking for my kids and all that sort of thing. Every opportunity that I had, if I was going to catch a flight and I knew I was going to be disconnected for like 30 hours, I would try and download as much as I could onto my phone so I could listen to it in the plane. And a few of the things that I love about Ted is that he has a live call every day of the week, every weekday of the week, and it is with a different person from his team, from his coaches. And so I used to study all week, take my notes, and write my questions in my book, and then I would jump into the Q&A question hangout, which they do on Wednesdays, webinars. Sorry, he does webinars. The Wednesday night call, which is questions and answers with Coach Crystal. She's very knowledgeable. She's been doing this for like 20 years. I've learned so much. I had a great call with her today. And so I would jump on this Q&A live call, and I would get all my questions answered on the spot, which was really exciting because, you know, I couldn't find anyone in Australia that was doing it successfully. I met a couple of people, but some of those people that just buy a course and they never do anything with it and they don't follow through. I don't know if that sounds familiar to anyone, and it's sad, but many people do that. So I was trying to work out a little mastermind with them, and they didn't really follow through. So it was hard because for me, sometimes I felt isolated, being here alone and not having an accountability partner, someone to bounce off ideas with. I just wanted to be able to jump on a call once a month and go, hey, I didn't know Louie at the time. I wish, you know, hey, what did you learn this month? What obstacles did you have? And, you know, just brainstorm to help each other move forward faster. So, but doing these live calls, it's so good. Like, it's so generous of them to be on a live call every day, because at least I knew all my questions were going to get answered. And whenever I was feeling like a little bit lost, being on those calls allowed me to go, oh, I'm actually in the right path. That was that website. And a lot of Ted's videos actually have, like, the coach will be here on the computer and they'll have the camera behind so that you can actually see what the coach is doing on the computer, so you can be doing it at the same time, following the steps and going, oh yeah, I'm on the right track because I can see the same screen as they do. Another thing that is huge for me is that Ted puts a lot of his own students and coaches on the calls and on the live events, and that is massive. That's invaluable for me because, like, Ted is super knowledgeable on real estate, but when you think about it, there's hundreds and probably thousands, I don't know, of counties in America, so it's impossible for one person to know everything, every detail about every little county. So the beauty with exposing you to all these students and coaches is that you might meet little Joe Blog that goes to this no-name little county in the middle of nowhere and develop this new strategy. So you get exposed to a lot more knowledge and experience, because now it's not just one person but a massive team. And the beautiful thing about that as well, because they have such a good customer support team, that Ted is in constant communication with his students, those that follow through, and the coaches. So what happens is they always have the most up-to-date information for us. Because, for example, today I had a training session with Bill, and then I had my coaching call with Coach Crystal. And, you know, if I say to her, hey, I just found a new app that I can upload my photos and my address, and then I get an evaluation from a real estate agent, if she didn't know, she's like, she just got something new. Guess what she's going to do at the next Q&A session next week? She's going to share that resource. So as you can see, we're exposed to a lot of people to be receiving the most up-to-date information, so that if someone discovers something new that just came out or changed in the rules last week, we're the first ones to know. And I just love that. I love knowing that I'm on the edge of new stuff, thanks to Ted's generosity and his team. And let me tell you, like, as you know, Emily, like, I'm a trainer myself, so I get to travel with many different trainers, and I get to see a lot of them that are just about the, you know, getting the sale, or, you know, meeting the targets or whatever. And I have to honestly say that I can count with the fingers of my hand the amount of trainers that genuinely care for the students, that genuinely add value, and that genuinely want to see you succeed, because your success is their success. And Ted is one of them. Like, he has such a big heart. He's so generous, and, you know, they're always checking out on you and making sure you're doing okay and being there. So I feel supported. I feel like I can't drop this. I can't even fail, because they're asking me all the time. I just have to do it. And, you know, as human beings, we do more for other people than we do for ourselves, because when someone is holding you accountable, all of a sudden you might be able to let yourself down, but not the other person. So for me personally, it's been a huge experience. I flew over in September to do a live event in Florida with Ted. I was going to be in America anyway for something else. And that's when I really went into it, and I set up my business, my limited liability company in America. I opened my personal and business bank account. I got my international investors number. And so I felt like I was finally all set up and ready to go. I bought a tax lien certificate in Florida towards the end of last year, and I've been to about 5 auctions. I'm actually participating at one this weekend from the comfort of my home in California. I sent a deposit last week, and it's so cool to know that, you know, this is all I need, my keyboard and my mouse, and I'm in business. Plus, I love, like, I'm a good researcher. I think I just love, you know, being able to sit here and work. So one thing I said to Emily is that I love to, those of you that are jumping on board, to develop that monthly mastermind call or something where we can support each other, and I can share all those shortcuts. Like, I already banged my head against a few polls, you know, just finding out what bank was the best for us overseas, because I had a really good bank, but as it turns out, they don't allow you to do a lot remotely. They want you there in person for security. So I had to close those accounts and open a new account with another bank. And now I found the bank that has the technology ahead of the game, that I can just, you know, with a few clicks, move money from wherever I want and things like that. So I'm more than happy once you guys are at this stage where you need to set up your business, open your bank accounts and all that, just to share all my contacts and stuff to save you the time and effort. So.
Oh, thank you so much, Sandra. And from one crazy energetic person to another, obviously, I'm sure everyone on the call can see just how full of beans you are, and you live that way too. I know that you have a million things that you do. How do you find, because it's a very common question that I've been asked, how much time it's going to take, and how do you find that you fit this in with your really busy schedule?
That's a really good question, Em. At the beginning, one thing I had to do, and I strongly recommend it, is I had to block out time. Because it's very easy for us to say, oh, I'll do it in my spare time. And guess what? Spare time is like spare money. If you don't consciously make the effort to have it, it's not going to happen. We all have the same time, 24 hours a day, and you can't find time. You can't, you know, create more time. So it has to become a priority. That's a thing that I work really hard with, and you know that, Emily, with my ladies at the retreat, is like, choose your top 3 priorities. Because if it's more than 3, they're not priorities. And if you're not going to physically grab your diary, like, which most of them are in Google Calendar these days on the phone, but I'm still old-fashioned. I like my colorful big diaries. So, you know, if you don't physically block the time, I'm sorry to say, but it's not going to happen. And remember, this is something new you're doing. So like anything else you do, it's going to take time, it's going to take effort, you're going to feel like, oh my God. But I mean, just think, when you went to school or college or university or whatever, took you years to learn something that probably didn't make you much money anyway. So,
Yeah.
you know, think about, it's like, wow, I can learn this in a few months. I mean, I know people who watch videos and learn for 2 weeks and then they throw themselves at auctions. I'm a methodical, so I've got to go step by step, take it easy, hold on. So I took 3 months to watch my videos and everything before I was confident enough. Plus, because of all the money I had lost, like I was very, ooh, take it easy here. Like I prefer my money to be safe than to have high risky returns. And so I had to literally put the blinkers on like a horse and eliminate distractions. And if my best friend is saying this video is really cool, watch it, I'm sorry, honey, no. And I would turn my phone off on silent during the hours that I know I have my productivity time, which is when my little girls are in school, between 9 and 2, and that's when I go, no, I'll return my calls in the afternoon when I'm driving, running around between swimming and gymnastics and all that. But right now is my productivity time, and I need to make the most, because otherwise, as I said, you know, it becomes impossible if you think you're going to have time left over. So I literally chose my top 3, which was, you know, my retreats, my seminars that I do around the world, and obviously this is important for me. And this is a thing, and you and I have had this discussion. I personally feel that these days of technology and so much happening, the #1 reason why people are not successful is because they don't stick long enough to one thing.
Yes.
They jump from one thing to another. This is great. 6 months later, I don't think it's for me, it's not working. They jump into another shiny object, another exciting thing. You know, I'm guilty of that. I've done that until I realized I'm never going to go anywhere like this. And let me tell you, honestly, whatever you're going to choose to do, and obviously this is a great strategy. It's safe, high returns. You can do it from the comfort of your home, which I totally love. But you have to stick to something between 3 to 5 years to truly be successful and realize that, okay, you can leave everything else because now this is your source of income, whether it's, you know, your business, your investments, whatever. You can do both. You can generate the income with your business, and then you can grow that income exponentially with your investments, which is this is the best avenue I've found. And of course, Ted is the best mentor that I have found. Honestly, I feel really blessed. So I strongly recommend that when you guys jump on it, you make the conscious decision that this is going to be a priority, and that something else is going to have to give up in your diary, because otherwise, what's the point? You need to commit to it. You're going to have to go and cross this off and literally allocate time. I know I used to do Mondays 3 hours because it's Sunday in America, so there's not a lot happening for me here in the Gold Coast. And then Tuesday, Wednesdays are flat out for me, so I didn't do anything. Then I did Thursday. And let me tell you one thing, Emily. It doesn't matter how much time you can allocate at the beginning. It doesn't matter if it's 30 minutes a day or 4 hours a week, or it's about, 1, creating the habit, and 2, most importantly, creating the momentum. Because what happens, and it happened to me, I would do a lot, and then I had a, you know, I don't know, a seminar in Europe, so I had to travel, come back, then I had my retreat, and then when I realized 3 or 4 weeks had gone by. So guess what? It was so hard to pick it up again. It was quite easy to just go, oh, whatever. Why? Because you lost the momentum. You're not in that energy anymore. You're losing the excitement. So that's the worst thing you can do for yourself. To say, I'm going to do this 6 hours on Sunday and that's it, forget it. You're setting yourself up for failure. So you need to discipline yourself that if it's 30 minutes, if that means you have to get out of bed 30 minutes earlier, if that means you have to go to bed 30 minutes later, if you're a night owl, I'm a morning person, so I'm quite happy to get up at 4 in the morning, and, you know, it's quite peaceful. I can, my mind is fresh because I'm rested. But you have to allocate the time, and it doesn't matter how much it is. It's a matter of consistency. Make sure you're doing it, because if you drop it for a week or 2 or more, I guarantee you it's going to be really hard for you to pick it up. So that's my piece of advice in terms of time.
That is awesome advice. Thank you so much. And I think you touched on how much support you get from Ted and your viewpoint of Ted and what he's provided for you. And I know that you were saying that 3 months ago, 4 months ago, long before, this event over the last week was even conceptual. So, I really do know that comes from your heart, and thank you so much for the advice with how to plan out doing it in terms of keeping it in with your schedule, because, it's so true that we can jump from shiny object to shiny object to shiny object, or worse, drop the ball in the momentum, and then you're right, it is just so tough to get back into the game when you've sort of lost that momentum. You can push a boulder for ages, and once it starts to roll, it's unstoppable. But if you're backing off on the accelerator, then it's really hard to get it up and cranking again. Thank you, Sandra.
Pleasure.
That's awesome. All right, let's switch over to intro Louie, because Louie comes from Singapore and has been doing it, I believe, is it about 18 months now, Louie, that you've been involved with TED Strategy?
That's correct, yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time and joining us on the call today. I know that you have some really awesome strategies that you've adopted with other investors, and doing things a little bit outside the box, which I always love. But, take it away. I'd love to hear about your journey and what got you started.
Okay, let me share my screen and let me show people what they get with TED, because I'm not sure if people...
Yeah, that'd be great if we could see the website.
Okay, let's see here.
Great idea.
Okay, so we can see you now. So this is can you guys see my Gmail?
Yes.
Okay, so this is kind of the weekly email you'll get from TED's team, and it shows you the different calls. So all these calls are included every week. So for example, Monday, and these are online calls. So this is featured out in the week. This is with Kim, one of his staff. On Tuesday, this is from Lance, featuring 100 of the most asked questions. Wednesday is with Carrie. Auction calendar. So there's a lot of support, which is great. And all these calls are recorded. Now, if you go to the website, let's see, click here. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so this is the back-end office, and you guys all got the Quick Start program and the resource guide. Let me click on the Quick Start program. This is where you get started, right here. Okay, and so these are all the manuals, and what I love about these are online. If you want any of this in the book format, you can talk to Ted's team, and you just pay the shipping and handling, and he'll ship it anywhere in the world. Really? So if I click on the manuals, it shows the different manuals. This one is the guidebook, getting started, and so if you click on it, and they're about 100 pages a piece.
Great.
So give me a second. So this one's 160 pages, and you just follow step by step of how to do it. And what I love it's got a lot of text in there. It's not just black and white reading. Can you guys see that? I'm not sure if you can see my screen.
Yeah, video format too, right?
Cool. So yeah, so that's kind of the manuals right there. Let me go back. And so anyone who's getting started, Sandra will tell you, you first want to go through this set right quick. And it might take you a week, 2 weeks, but it's very easy to read. It's on audio. Also, he has all the videos. So these are the ones Sandra was talking about. You can watch from your phone, save them to your computer. So it shows you many case studies. Ted's big about showing you actual examples of people who are doing it out there, so case studies. So that's kind of the beginning. So this is the members area. So that's the set he was talking about. The resource club is which we all get 1 year access to it. Let me show you all the stuff in there. You guys still there? Did I lose you?
Sorry, yeah, no.
Awesome, Right,
okay.
Sure.
Okay, so I only can see my screen. I can't see you guys. So if you go right here, I'll just scroll down. So these are all the different calls, the online things with this. You got Tuesday, Wednesday, property research. The most important thing Ted says is not about buying the property; it's how do you sell the property, and the calendar. And I'll just scroll down some more. So if you click here, there's another program you get access to: Retire Young, Retire Rich. If you click on that, it'll show you. There's so much information, and so this is one of them. This is one of the other programs. You click on that. This is the live workshops, the 3-day workshops. You click there, you can access to all the videos, all the case studies. These are all the programs you get. In-depth research papers. So if you click on this one, these are white papers. These are what is a quiet title. Emily, remember we talked about that. Everything you want to know about quit claim deeds, bankruptcy, lady in the red dress. This is a great report there. Unexpected value. So I don't want to, and there's featured video of the week. So let me go hit back. Okay, now this is what I like, because this is for U.S. and foreign investor resources. So everything that Sandra went through, a lot of it's in here. And what he does, because this is online, not in a book, he can update it all the time. So he can add a section for Australia, a section for Singapore, because the challenge nowadays is the banking laws always change. So like for Singapore, Bank of America used to like Singaporeans, now they don't. So you got to go to Wells Fargo or something. It just changes all the time, you know. Nothing to do with us. This is right here, Coach Crystal, what Sandra was talking about, has been with Ted for many, many years. And this is her marketing list. So when she wants to sell a property, you can click on this, and it shows everything, her whole marketing plan. You print this out. So you can kind of see online ads, your website, all this stuff. So you just check everything off. That's when you sell the property. Go down here. This is for instruction non-U.S. citizens, how to pay taxes. So there's tons and tons of stuff there. And the beauty is, don't get overwhelmed. You follow the videos I showed you in the quick start, and just follow it step by step. So I'm going to go back up to the Tuesday tutorials. If you click, so every Tuesday there's a new speaker, and he's teaching different things. So for example, last week is Washington property selling. Now if I click on it, it's probably, this is almost an hour long. So imagine, so if you look, these are so many hours worth of stuff. Interview Ted. This is about eBay, how to sell on eBay. This is title insurance without a quiet title. How to purchase properties for as little as $100. How to instantly slash $500 for your marketing costs. A blueprint for selling a property in 7 days or less. And like Sandra was saying, these are real students who are sharing their strategies. Okay, so that's on Tuesday. So we go to, let's say, the auction calendar. Now, what I love about this is updated all the time. So if you click on this, there's 5 videos that will show you how to use this. Okay, and I'm just going to show you how to do it really quick. So you can watch the videos. It's a few hours, but I'm just going to go back to auction calendar. And this is what I like right here. So click on the yellow button, and it shows you, if I scroll down, so this is March. This shows you all the auctions that are happening. So Ted has a team. He pays them a lot of money, and they just research the counties. There's 3,000 counties in the U.S., and they just show all the ones that are, if they're online or offline. So for example, Thursday, the 17th, which was yesterday, they had one in Florida, Ohio, Florida, North Carolina, Miami, Florida, and it shows if they're online or if you have to be there live.
Cool.
So for example, every Tuesday, I do mainly Florida, and there's Lake County, Lee County, right there. There's Orange County. So let's say we go next month.
That's Alameda there, Louie, that I'm doing tomorrow.
Lee County?
Alameda in California.
Alameda. Yeah, so here's Texas. Texas is usually the first Tuesday of the month. You can see red, and if you click on it, it'll give exactly what it is and more stuff like that. Wednesday, so you can tell. So I mean, look how many are next Tuesday. So many opportunities. That's why Ted said we're not competing with each other. There's so many opportunities right there, and each one of these could have anywhere from 30 to 200 properties. Here's April 12th. There's some in Florida. Okay, let me scroll back here. And if you click on the state, so this is very interactive. So if I click on Florida, Florida is actually it does tax deeds and liens. So if you look up here in the guide, if I can click on it, it shows it does liens twice a year, May and June. Interest rate is 18%. Redemption period is 2 years. Bid down rate. That means every time you bid, the interest rate goes down. So me and my wife, we're saving our money for May, and we're buying a lot of stuff in Florida for tax liens. I love tax liens because, like Sandra, I'm very busy, and so if I put a bulk of my money in tax liens and get the 18 to 24%, and then every so often I'll do a deed. Does that kind of make sense? That's my strategy there. Mm-hmm. And now you click on Georgia. Georgia is deeds, so there's no liens. Redeemable deeds, which is there's a strategy. It's a different one. Texas, redeemable deeds. Now he talked about Iowa, which is right here. That's tax liens. That's 24%. And if you click on it, it gives you even more information. Okay, Illinois. So because I clicked on Iowa, it gives me all the different information. like links to the sites. I mean, he spends a lot. Here's all the counties in Iowa. Now, I've never been to Iowa, but it shows you all the counties, what the population is. I mean, there's more information than you ever need.
Wow.
So it's all there. You can click on it. So I mean, it's a very intense site. He tries to make it so it's not so overwhelming. There's a strategy called over-the-counter. This is an advanced strategy. These are the liens that people don't buy, and you can buy them on pennies on the dollar. So there's videos on that. If you go to his 3-day event, or if you look at the auction, he'll show an advanced strategy. Literally, and Sandra knows this, how you can really print money out of air, where you can buy stuff for hundreds of dollars and make multiple thousands of dollars from that, and that's over-the-counter right there. So let me go back to the and then you've got Wednesday, the calls with Coach Crystal. Coach Crystal does this every Wednesday, and it's online. So this is the one she just did. You put them in here. So this is March 9th, 66 minutes, February 24th, 50 minutes, February 17th, 57 minutes. So it's always updated. I mean, that's amazing. And again, these are people just asking questions, so you can ask all the questions you want on there. If you don't ask a question, she actually has some information she teaches. Okay, cool. You guys are all there. Make sure. What else we got here? Okay, then we've got investor resources. I'm just kind of going over the basic stuff. So these are different contracts. So when you're selling your property, there's strategies for that. So for example, you can just use Coach Crystal. So if you buy, so I've used her before I've gone into an auction. I'll ask her, hey, what would you bid on that? And she shows everybody, okay, let's look at Louie's property. He's looking to bid on, blah, blah, blah. Here's the maximum I would pay. And then, for example, then once I bought it, I'll be asking her, okay, how do I sell it? And she'll be like, okay, well, here's some strategies to sell it. So there's some information. And the resource center, I'll click on that. And this is, I guess, more of the stuff that we talked about right here. Ted has a featured video of the week. So every week, if you log in, there's a new video. So this is a mock tax deed auction. So you can kind of see how it works. And this is the video will disappear in 2 days. Okay. So once you do all that, so for me and Sandra can tell you, once you learn the basics, and I have a list where I check off the different properties. Now you can get more creative in following Ted's strategy. So what I do is I actually have a virtual assistant that takes some of the strategies and she does the research for me. So for example, one of my things is, like Ted talks about, is not to pay more than 20 cents, and I look for land. And for me, I'm not looking at $1,000, $2,000 land. We're looking for land that's $3,000 to say $15,000, and that's what we're going to pay. So for example, we just did a deal in December. I've got a group. We paid $3,000 for a piece of land that's worth $29,000. So that's about a 10%. What we bought it for of current value. There's another partner of mine. We bought a piece of land for $6,000. It's worth $38,000. So again, those are kind of the stuff we do. And again, we use VAs for a lot of this. So I'll show you how easy it is to do an auction. Is there? I think. Okay. So there's a bunch of sites. One of them is so the county. So Sandra knows this is Lee County. This is a government site. And if you click Start Here, it shows you all the rules. So each auction has different rules. So you click there, you read the rules. I'll show you, okay, how much is deposited, all that kind of stuff you need to know. But let me show you how easy it is. And again, this is for one county in Florida. And you can show, for example, okay, the next auction is the 22nd. So they got 71 out of 77 properties that are available for bid right now. The difference in six of the properties were redeemed. Does that make sense? So I can click on it. So let's say I'll click on this one. This is March 29th. My birthday's here, so it's and this is all online. You can watch it online. Okay.
Very helpful.
Okay, and I can go and I can look based on my criteria, 20%. I can take these 70 properties and within a few seconds figure out which ones I'm interested in. So this one, opening bid is $2,000 for taxes. Assessed value is $2,900. Does that mean my criteria? No. So same thing. I can just look 2,000, 20. It doesn't mean my criteria. I'm looking for something that's opening bid 2,000 and it's worth like 15,000. So I can look, I can look, I can look. So it's very easy to see if an auction, if you should spend more time on there. So that's page 1. I'll go to page 2, and I'm looking. I'm just going back up. 1,800 versus 2,300. No, I'm not gonna spend 1,800, and the max I can make is 23. That doesn't work because I'm looking for 20%. So 2,000, 2,000, 2,000, and there's 7 pages. So let's say I go down to page, let's say 4. Let's see. 2,000, 2,000, 2,000. So this one, there's really not much so far. Does that make sense? So that's just one county. So I can do Florida. Some counties go every week, so I can spend a few minutes. So this one's $900. It's worth $3,000. That's not what I want to do. I look in 4,000, 5,000 for. So this one's actually worth. They have more in taxes than the assessed value. Okay, so definitely we don't want to bid on those. So that's one website. That's Lee County. Again, these are all linked through Ted's auction guide. You click on a button and it takes you there. Lee County's in Florida. There's another site I use, and Ted recommends this one. It's called bidforassets.com. bid4assets.com. Make sure you guys are still there, okay? And this is a site. Now some counties don't have enough money to do their auction website, so they partner with this company to do that. And you can buy $1 reserve, no reserve homes, $1 no reserve land, county tax sale. They even like do cars and stuff. So you click on. So I can look right here. So this is Kings County. This is one already. Alameda. So this is what Sandra was sharing. If I click on that, it tells me all the rules. Okay, how to participate, what kind of. So this one has 359 tax defaulted properties for auction online. This is in California. Okay, click here for deposit. You have to wire in $5,000 deposit plus a $35 processing fee. If you don't win or you don't bid on anything, it'll get returned back to you. It shows all the disclaimers. Okay, and these are the numbers of properties. So it's doing this number. It's going to close by this. So they break them up into different groups. So let's click on this. And these are the properties. So this one's got time left 3 days. Click, and I haven't looked at this at all. So okay. So here we go. Additional details. So this I'll see description below. What's this property? Okay. So here's the click on this. So this is an address. So Ted will show you how to go through all this. Okay, this looks like maybe a piece of land. But again, you kind of go through this, and so let's pick another one. But everything's online. Minimum bid's 20,000. Let's click on. So some of these are closed. That means they've been redeemed or they're taken out of the auction. Don't really know why. Don't really care. So click right here. So this one opens in 6 hours. No reserve, which means it'll go for the lowest bid. Minimum bid is $25.88. Bid increment's $100. So click on. So go down here. Okay, address. This is their address. So I can take this and put this in Google. I can click on here, legal description, and it goes over what it is, parcels. And you kind of have to read all this stuff to do all that. So that's. I mean, each auction is different. Lee County. What I like about Lee County, let me show you. This is back to Florida one. If I click on the parcel ID, it actually it'll show me. I like Florida because it shows this is much more advanced than say in California. The challenge with having it more advanced, like it'll have the tax roll, it'll have more pictures, is that more people will bid. So I can click on that, it'll zoom in. Versus the California one we just saw, because you have to maybe do a little more research. And Ted shows you how to do research. So this is, again, the Florida one. It shows you any information you want. If it's in a low flood zone, high flood zone, appraisal, the details, how they got the appraisal thing, blah, 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 all that stuff. So that's kind of it right there. So again, this is something, and Sandra can tell you, after a few weeks of doing this, there's a lot of opportunities for that.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Louie. That was really insightful, to say the least, to see all the back end. Is it okay? Is it okay if I just jump in real quick, Louie?
Yeah, go ahead. I'm done.
I was just going to say, thank you so much. And while I just ask you one other question, because you have such an incredible strategy that we were talking about that I just think is unbelievable, and I love it. It just creates so much leverage. A, for the high end properties that you were talking about, and B, for actually being able to, with some of the investors that you know, being able to invest for them and being able to make money out of the tax liens in that way. But while you go into that, if I can just ask everyone if you've got any questions, maybe jot them down. Now is the time to just write them down, so that we'll go through one by one and just give everyone the opportunity to just ask a question if they have one. So Louie, would you mind terribly just explaining quickly about that strategy, because I just, that excited me to no end to be able to leverage like you do.
Yeah, so actually on the TED's website, there's this girl, Lisa Hall, and there's a couple other guys that raise money from private investors. And TED's got hours of videos of how to raise money. And so this girl, Lisa Hall, I think you saw the video, within 5 years she raised $5 million, and she never used a penny of her own money, and she bought property. And what she would do is she would go into investors, and she would say, okay, I'll give you 8 to 10% depending on how much they gave her. I think the minimum was $50,000. And she would buy, tax deed properties or tax liens, and she would keep the above the. So let's say she's giving them 10%, she would keep the leftover. So if she's buying liens, she would buy 18% liens. She would give them 10, and she would keep the other 8%. And that's. Yeah, and we kind of do that here. We actually give them probably less. Maybe I've got partners who are accountants, and in Singapore we get 1% a year. So we've got some people who trust us, and they don't want to do all the research. So they give us the money, and they'll go invest it. So right now in Florida, we're looking to invest in quite a few liens, and it's and we just it's a 2-year investment. And they kind of know we tell them what we're doing, exactly what we're doing, blah blah blah. They get it backed by the lien itself, and it's very safe, And then we've got a few other people who are maybe more aggressive, and they're like, okay, Louie, can I give you $50,000, and the next time you buy a deed, use my money and we'll split it. So that's another option right there too.
Right, that's fantastic, because I think you were saying that there was such a niche market in the higher end whereby you've got a greater chance of securing an amazing property because less people are bidding up that higher end property spectrum. So, if you can leverage off of, I guess, even syndicating, putting, collaborating with more than one person to raise those funds to be able to bid for the deeds at the higher end, there's a much greater spread, and also too, you're mitigating your risks over more than one person, so the risks come down. And that was unbelievable. That really opened my eyes when you mentioned that strategy.
Yeah, it's just that's actually Ted's strategy, and he learned it from a student. Just like in Singapore, the average property, it's probably, let's say if you're going in the $400,000 to $600,000 range, you're going to get a majority of the people looking for that range. But if you're looking at property over, let's say, $1 million, you're going to get less and less people look at that. So less competition, better values. It's probably same like Australia, same like the U.S. So we try to look at the higher end scales that have less values. And what I would recommend, because in Singapore and Bangkok and even Australia, form little groups, maybe 2 or 3 people, and one might be great at research, like Sandra's great at research, and maybe somebody else puts up the money, different things like that, and form partnerships. So.
That's a great idea. And we've also, I think I mentioned it before, we've started the Facebook group. So for everybody that's come on board, we've invited you along to the Facebook group as well too, where people can just constantly be adding value or just leave comments of how things are going if you want to ask questions, because 9 times out of 10 somebody might be able to answer the question that you don't know the answer for, and vice versa. You might know something that someone else doesn't. So thank you so much, Louie, for sharing. It's so exciting to hear from people that are actually doing it and walking the walk. It's not just a phantom fantasy that, because you were saying before, Sam, it's so true. You go to so many, in the personal development world, we do attend so many seminars and personal development education forums, and there aren't always, it isn't always the level of integrity that TED has and the quality of training that TED has. So, I just love hearing from people that are actually, legitimately doing it. So it's very exciting. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. I know there were some questions people had.
Absolutely. So we'll start with Simon. Simon says, to Louie and Sandra and Em, as we wait for our packages, which you should be receiving very, very soon, is there anything we can sign up to that will advance our process, i.e. tax number, security numbers, US bank accounts, etc.? Great question. That's probably for Sandra or Louie, whoever jumps in.
Yeah, so I'll start first. I would so Ted recommends not to do any of that first, to go ahead and go through some of the trainings, and then based on that, because Ted's got lawyers that he can connect you with. Lawyers have videos. Like every one of his 3-day events, he brings a lawyer in, and what the lawyers told me is based on where you're doing it at. So for example, Florida has 50 states, just like Australia's got I think 5 or 6 states. So if I'm doing primarily a lot of my stuff in Florida, I might want to set up a company in Florida. But in the beginning, you really don't know where you're going. I would follow Sandra. Wherever Sandra's going, I would just be right next to her and bid $5 more or $100 more. She's probably not going to share much anymore. But for example, if you set up something in California, it might take 4 or 5 weeks to get everything started, and it'll cost you more money and stuff like that. Florida is great because there's there's less taxes. Mm-hmm. And we can share all this in another stage. There's another place that it's called Wyoming, where there's no business taxes. Mm. So there's a lot of benefits. And as you go through Ted's videos, you want to go through that. Go through those sections on there.
Yeah, and I think Ted was mentioning briefly with Texas, it's a penalty state. So there's little perks to purchasing in a penalty state. That if they don't, if they pay out their lien early, you actually end up with getting paid an extra penalty, which is quite nice as well. So you can guarantee that cash ongoing. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's move along to Cara. I know that you've got your screen turned off at the moment, but if you're there, do you have any questions pending at the moment?
Hi, sorry, I am just had baby stuff happening as well. No, it's fantastic to hear from both Louie and Sandra and hear, I guess, about the real end of it. Did we have any questions, Tom? Tom's here with me as well.
Hi, Tom.
No, I guess. Oh, actually, one question I would have, Louie. I did ask Sandra this when I spoke with her, which was really interesting to hear what her experience has been. But just in terms of the auction process, particularly for the tax deeds, is there always a lot of competition? Is it really difficult to kind of get the properties that you're interested in, or what's been your experience with that?
Okay, so and Sandra she's been to 5 auctions. The auctions, I flew to Texas with Ted's team. And so I've been through a few of them. Online auctions will actually get more buzz than live auctions because people from around the world can come there. That makes sense. If you're visiting on property, the nicer the property looks, the more bids you're going to get because people are thinking about where they're going to live. Like, for example, in Texas, and I'll send you a video if you want. It's about 30 minutes of this is last year. And the properties, because we went with these coaches, the properties that were kind of a little damaged, they were the ones with more value, less bids. Is that going to make sense? Mm. And what Ted recommends to us, he goes, buy residential land. Don't buy farmland, residential land. So in a subdivision, if there's a piece of land between houses, that's a better deal. So that's kind of what we focus on. We focus on residential land. The reason is less people bid on residential land because everyone wants a house. The second thing is, if you buy a piece of residential land, there's less maintenance, less upkeep. There's less risk on your part. Taxes are very low if you decide to hold it. Taxes are very low on that aspect because it's just land.
Mm-hmm. Great points.
And so again, I would just follow. In the beginning, I would just follow what Ted does. Sandra can tell you because when I first got started, I was trying to do everything. I was like, Ted, I'm going to set up a deal here and there, and he's like, slow down, Louie, slow down. He goes, just focus on and you'll see the videos online where he recommends for overseas buyers exactly what you should do, And again, it's different than people think. And this whole thing is you buy low and you flip the property, you sell it low as quick as you can to get your money back.
Yes. Yeah, no, that's awesome. Okay, I'm just having a look here who that is. That's Brendan. Brendan, do you have any questions? and I'm not sure that he's there. He's got his screen on, but he's not there. Ron. Hello, Ron. How are you? Have you got any questions if you're there?
Yeah, mate, I'm here. No real questions. I'm just waiting to, hear more about, see the videos and get to know more information before I do anything. Yeah. So I'm going to follow Ted by the book.
Nice. Brilliant.
By the book. Step by step. I don't want to get rich quick. This is a slow process, and I shall be doing that, step by step. I will, and I appreciate Louie's comments. I mean, he's right with the land, 100%. But I think there'll be a lot of people competing for that land. So, but do your homework. Don't try and beat somebody else. Just do the homework. So I'm a patient person. Very patient.
Great. Thanks, Ron.
All right. Thanks, Ian.
Mum says, Debbie's my mum, by the way, everyone.
Debbie, you're upside down.
She is upside down. She spends her days like that.
Deb, turn the camera up the other way.
No, it's fine, Mum. I enjoy it I enjoy watching you upside down. How quickly can you flip the property? I understand the principles, but what's the time frame in settling on the deal and getting quiet acquisition? So I think, that's a really great question. I think Ted touched on that a little bit in the car on the way up to the Sydney event, but would you be able to elaborate a little bit more on that?
Yeah, it really depends on the estate and the auction. So like in Florida, and there's many examples, some people flip their home in 4 days from when they get it. Some of you might have to wait, like in Washington, one of the properties, we have to wait 30 days before we get the deed. So it really depends. So part of the due diligence is before you go to an auction is to find out how soon will you get the deed and how soon can you dispose of the property. So it could be right away or it could be about a month. Does that help out?
Yeah, awesome. Awesome. Does that answer the question?
No, we can't hear you, Debbie. Deborah.
Oh, okay. Nod, Mum. Does that answer your question? Actually, just type down in the comment, and and I'll grab it there. Sort of. Okay. Okay. Are you able to unmute yourself? You're not muted though. Is the problem? That's okay. Just keep typing your second response, and I'll move on, and we can come back to answer the rest of that question. Would that be okay? Okay. Cool. Okay, Simon or Azar, do you have any other questions? Okay, not at this stage. So we've got, okay, Mum's saying, what lawyers do we use to handle any issues? Okay, so I think there's been a little bit of a question arise as to whether or not we use US solicitors and lawyers, or do you use an Australian lawyer or solicitor? Have Louie or Sandra
Can you be more specific on what you mean a lawyer for?
I think what she means, because we have lawyers and solicitors here. Over there, they call them closing attorneys, Debbie, which is like the lower end of the scale in terms of pricing. They literally just do the legalities of the paper, and they're called closing attorneys, which you can get recommended from a real estate agent.
Okay, cool. And it's just that's just a legality, a paperwork thing, I would assume. Does it work much the same as it works over here with
it's what you would call here, you just got a conveyancer, that's right. Because you pay less than a solicitor or a lawyer, and they just do the legalities of the papers, which you don't know how to do. And like Louie said, depending how soon you get the deed, which is the paper that basically says you're officially the owner of this place, you can't sell it, but you can still advertise it, subject to you get the deed. So, you know, some states might take 30 days, might take longer. As soon as you have that deed, you're the owner, you can do whatever you want with it.
Okay.
And I just want to say as well, in terms of Kara's question, when Louie was saying obviously online has more competition, because sometimes the lists are so big, anything that is not straightforward by you typing it in Google and the answers don't come to you, that's typically something good to go for, because a lot of the people are going to give up because they can't be bothered. You know, because they have to research 100 properties, so if they type in and it doesn't come straight away, they drop it off the list and they keep moving. So sometimes becoming a good researcher pays, because if you just do a little bit more digging, you get to find that something that maybe looked like it had a lien or some other encumbrance on it, and then you research a little bit further, you find that it's okay. That's a good way to get away from the competition, anything that is not straightforward. So the more you learn to research and dig on the websites, the less people that do it. And obviously, you start to make money, as Louie said, the more you start to move away from the cheap little properties, the less competition, because many people don't have the capital to bid for high-end properties. So when you start, you might be like, oh, but where do I find money and stuff? But I tell you, once you start to learn and become knowledgeable, you'll be surprised how people jump out of the rocks to come and say, can you invest my money, because I can't be bothered. So, you know, the more you learn, the better reputation you build for yourself. People start to find out what you're doing, and then they just want to throw their money at you.
That's really true. That's happened to Azar, who's on the call. He's had a few people approach him in the past about Forex trading and knowing what he's doing and the percentages of return he's getting. And it's true. People just do. They come out of the woodworks and start saying, oh, well, you know, I'll give you some money to invest. And, yeah, it just literally happens like that. There was a question as well, too. Is there stamp duty payable, and does it vary in different states? Sandra, you'd obviously know what I mean. Louie, you may know what I'll be familiar with the stamp duty side of things, but is that an American thing over there?
No, it's not. It's whatever. Real estate taxes are very small.
Yeah. Okay. Beautiful.
And remember, everything else is wiped up. Let me just clarify something, because I think, your mom, is everyone clear what's the difference between a tax lien certificate and a tax deed?
You can go over it again.
Because Debbie's saying something like, Louis spoke about deed properties being a 2-year deal. So let me just clarify the difference very quickly. A tax lien, it's a certificate you get. So Sue hasn't paid the taxes for her house. So the county, what we call here, what do you call him here?
Council.
The council. Right, they go, oh, listen, Sue owes $1,000 in taxes. I really need it because we need to fix the traffic lights on the road and the corner. So what happens, they go, who wants this certificate, which is like a backup of, you know, you have the house to guarantee your money. So then Emily comes and goes, okay, I'll pay the $1,000 for Sue. And then that means Sue has up to 2 years to pay for those taxes plus the interest, whatever the percentage might be in that state. Let's say Florida for 18%. So Sue might decide to come and pay for her taxes anytime within those 2 years, which means you can get your money at any time, Debbie, between now and 2 years, and all you're holding on to is a certificate, and that's a tax lien. So let's say when Sue decides in a year's time, okay, now I have the money to pay my taxes, she goes to pay her taxes plus the penalty, which for her is your interest, 18%. So the county goes, thank you so much, Abby, here's your money back plus your 18%. However, a tax deed is the end of a tax lien process. Tax deed is when Sue has already been tax delinquent for 2 years, so the county just went, you know what, that's enough. I'm going to take your house away because you never paid. So they take the house, they go to the auction, hey, who wants this house? I'm not interested, I'm the county, I couldn't care less about making money, I just want this house back into the tax roll. So, you know, Sue owes $5,000 by now because it's been 2 years. I don't care, just give me the $5,000 and I'll give you the house. But now there's 10 people who want the house, so they go, oh, I'll give you 6, I'll give you 7, whatever, and they'll take whatever you give them. So a tax deed, you're pretty much buying the property at the auction, A tax lien, you're just buying a certificate to get some interest at the end of that journey. So one is more safer because you're just kind of lending your money for a while to get an interest back. And, you know, at the beginning when I was learning, I was like, well, that's all I'm going to do. Like, tax deed sounds really scary. Why would I want the property? But then the more I started learning, it's like, hell, why would I bother with 18% when I can just go double my money in 6 months instead of waiting 2 years for 18? So they're both great. You're going to do whatever you want. You might do a bit of both, like Louie does. It's just that understanding the difference of what a tax lien and a tax deed is. And I hope that clarifies any confusion, Debbie, and anyone else.
No, that's perfect. That was a really, really great explanation. And obviously it's different horses for courses depending on where you're in your lifestyle as to which strategy you use, and a bit of both perhaps. Is the interest the penalties that the county charge? Yes.
Penalty of the tax owner, the house owner who owes a tax, that's a penalty for them, is the interest for you.
So if you have bought a tax lien and it goes to auction, what's the situation then?
Okay, so it's different in different states. So some states, you buy the lien, 2 years later, they never pay the taxes. You can automatically fix the balance of whatever fees and stuff are owed, and now you take over that property. Some states like Florida, you buy the lien, you hold on to it, 2 years later, they don't pay the taxes. Then you tell the county, okay, it's time. Where am I? Where's my money? So then the county is gonna go and put that house for auction. So in Florida, you don't automatically get it. You can go to the auction and bid for it, and if no one bids, you get the first right after that. But you don't get the house automatically in Florida. It has to go to auction after the 2 years. And you know, if it sells at the auction, you still get your money back with your interest, because whoever buys it at the auction, the opening bid is going to include all those taxes plus the interest. And if no one buys it, then you have the opportunity to buy it for the back taxes.
Beautiful. That's awesome. What else have we got here? So if you bought a tax lien, that we've just answered that. Is stamp duty will pay? We've answered that. Okay. Is there any other questions that haven't been answered or that have come to mind? I'm sure there's probably going to be a lot, in which case throw them into the Facebook group because I really do want to generate a real hub of activity there, and people.
Emily, can I make a suggestion? So what I recommend, since everyone is already invested in the system, if you haven't got an email from Kim yet, talk to Emily, and Emily, make sure Kim gets them an email to get them started. But what I would recommend is maybe if you want to meet up again in 3 weeks, and I like this, but before we meet up, make sure they go through the guides and they go through at least the quick start videos, because then a lot of these questions people ask, it's all in the video. You just haven't been through the videos. And if you do, and so let's say 3 weeks, we meet up like mid of April, and then everyone's been through 10 hours, we're going to get much more better questions and strategies from then. So.
Absolutely. No, that's a fabulous idea. Thank you, Louie. And I just want to thank you guys again for your time, for giving up an hour tonight to be able to go a little bit deeper into the insights of somebody that's actually doing it and walking the walk. And it was really, really helpful. So did you guys get a lot out of tonight, as in people that are here other than Louie and Sandra? I hope you guys got a lot out of it tonight, and you know, it answered any questions that are lingering, and yeah, that we can push forward with 100 mile an hour and make this happen, because it's very exciting, and I'm super excited to have such a great bunch of people on board.
Cool, and I'll put some of the videos I took in Ted's office, and the one undercover video I did at an auction, so they can at least get some ideas of that.
Brilliant.
Cool.
So we've got, thanks guys, really appreciate it. Cheers from Debbie. Thanks heaps for that. Can't wait to talk further in the future when more advanced. Awesome. So I think everyone's really pumped. Thanks guys.
I'm excited there'll be more Australians, and I'm sure these ones will follow through.
Yeah.
Yay! No, really good group of go-getters. So yeah, that's why I'm super
excited. That was a great tour, and thank you for putting it together, Em.
You're welcome. Thank you both for your time and generosity. Thank you. Mwah.
Thank you guys. Have a good night.
Have a great night, everyone. Bye now.
Bye.
See ya.